Jesus with outstretched hand. Jesus raised his hand slightly, and the universe seemed to pause. The gesture was not grand, not a command to armies of angels or a decree to the heavens, but the quiet lifting of a hand filled with love. From his palm streamed violet light, soft and radiant, flowing outward like a river without end. It touched the wings of angels who hovered nearby. It swept across the stars, burning in the endless sky, and it descended to creation itself, brushing over galaxies, oceans, and hearts that longed for peace. His eyes, vast as galaxies themselves, gazed upon all with mercy. They were not eyes of judgment, though they could pierce deeper than time itself. They were not eyes of indifference, though eternity lived within them. They were eyes that held oceans of compassion, eyes that knew every sorrow, every prayer whispered in the night, every longing unspoken. And when those eyes rested upon creation, the whole of existence seemed to exhale, as though relieved to be seen and understood. The angels closest to him knelt, not compelled by command, but because their souls could do nothing else. The violet light streaming from his hand bathed them, and they felt as though they had been reborn in the fire of love. Their wings glowed brighter, their voices trembled with awe, yet no hymn was sung, for silence itself became worship. Their faces reflected the radiance like mirrors of heaven, each one bearing the imprint of his mercy. And beyond them, the stars pulsed as though alive, their golden and violet flames beating in rhythm with his heart. The galaxies swirled as though they were listening to a hymn without words, carried not in sound but in light. Nebulas unfolded their colors across infinity, painting the sky with beauty as though joining the prayer. For when Jesus lifted his hand, creation itself remembered its origin, and every particle of dust longed to return to the love from which it came. He prayed without words, for he was the prayer. The silence around him was not empty. It was filled with the hum of eternity, the music of life itself. The angels leaned closer, not to hear a sound, but to drink the silence, for in it they heard more than voices could hold. They felt their own names called in the stillness. They felt their own existence wrapped tenderly in the outpouring of his hand. One seraph, trembling with awe, lifted her gaze to meet his eyes. She had flown for endless ages, sung hymns that rolled like thunder across eternity, but she had never felt so small, so known, so cherished as in that moment. The light from his outstretched hand swept over her wings, and she felt every doubt dissolve, every shadow vanish. In its place grew a fire of peace, gentle but unstoppable, as though her entire being had become a flame woven from his mercy. Another angel, weary from carrying the cries of earth before the throne, felt the light wash over him and wept. He had seen wars rage, children suffer, and prayers rise like smoke too heavy to bear. He had longed for healing he could not give, for comfort he could not offer. But when Jesus lifted his hand, the angel felt the burden melt away. The violet light carried not only love, but also strength, and the angel knew that nothing was wasted, no cry unheard, no tear forgotten. The light did not stop at heaven's borders. It spilled over the edge of eternity like a river, cascading into the universe, touching every star and world. On earth, a mother who wept for her child felt her heart quiet in the night, as though unseen arms held her. A wanderer lost in the desert looked up at the stars and suddenly felt less alone, his steps guided by an invisible peace. A child crying in darkness felt comfort, though no hand touched him, and the cry turned into sleep, soft and calm. The light from his hand reached them all, binding them with threads of love that no distance could sever. Even the stones of the earth seemed to sigh in relief. The trees lifted their branches as if in praise, and the seas shimmered with a deeper light. Creation itself knew its maker, and when he raised his hand, the universe bowed not in fear, but in recognition of love. The prayer deepened, though no word escaped his lips. His hand, glowing with violet fire, seemed to cradle the stars themselves. The angels could see in the light the memory of creation, the moment when the first spark became the cosmos, when the breath of God spread life across the void. They realized that his outstretched hand was not merely a gesture. It was the same hand that formed galaxies, the same hand that healed the blind and blessed children, the same hand that would one day bear the scars of nails, yet never cease to give love. The angels sang then softly, their voices blending with the silence, not breaking it, but completing it. Their hymn rose like incense, Yet even their song felt small beside the prayer in his eyes. For when they looked upon him, they knew that he himself was the hymn, the offering, the altar, and the flame. Jesus' eyes, filled with galaxies of mercy, did not overlook the smallest creature. His gaze passed from the heights of heaven to the humblest corner of the earth. In his eyes, a sparrow falling was seen as clearly as the birth of a star. A forgotten soul in shadow was loved as deeply as the brightest angel before his throne. No distance, no depth, no darkness could escape the mercy that streamed from his hand and shone in his gaze. And as his prayer continued, the heavens themselves seemed to grow brighter. The violet and golden stars shimmered as though his light were awakening them, reminding them that they too were born from love. The angels felt their hearts burn with new fire, as if creation itself were being renewed in the silence of that moment. For though eternity had no need of hours or days, the angels would remember that prayer forever. They would speak of the time when Jesus lifted his hand and the universe was wrapped in violet mercy, when every heart, every star, every angel felt the gaze of his love. And yet Jesus did not pray only for heaven or for the stars. His hand was lifted for the broken, the forgotten, the lonely. His light streamed toward those who wandered far, those who doubted, those who feared they were beyond grace. His silence carried words no ear could hear, but every soul could feel. You are not forgotten. You are mine. You are loved beyond measure. One by one, the angels bowed deeper, their wings folding in reverence. The silence of heaven grew deeper still, until it seemed that even the stars bent their shining toward him. The galaxies spun not with chaos, but with harmony, their vast arms curving like dancers around a center of light. And at that center stood Jesus, his hand raised slightly, his eyes oceans of endless mercy, violet light streaming outward forever. Time itself seemed to dissolve in that moment. There was no before, no after, only the eternal now of his prayer. And in that now, every angel, every star, every soul was held. His hand was not only outstretched toward creation, it was outstretched to eternity, embracing all that was, all that is, and all that will ever be. And so when his hand finally lowered, the silence did not break. It lingered, living within every angel, every star, every human heart touched by his light. They carried it like fire within them, a memory of love eternal. For they knew, with unshakable certainty, that his prayer would never end, even if the gesture ceased. His hand might lower, but his mercy remained outstretched forever. The heavens continued their turning, the stars their shining, the angels their kneeling, and at the center of all things, Jesus stood, his hand forever lifted in love, his eyes galaxies of mercy without end, his light streaming outward, touching angels, stars, and creation with grace eternal.